I'm Aleks.
And I'm Rob.
I'm from Novi Sad, Serbia.
And I'm from New York. Aleks and I started dating after meeting on a German cruise ship where we were entertainers.
And now we are in a long-distance relationship.
Until we can be together again, we decided to start a podcast.
We may come from different backgrounds, but that's exactly what keeps the conversation going for hours.
We can't wait for you to listen to this episode.
So sit back and enjoy it.
Because we have a lot to talk about. So, let me rein this all in.
Okay.
Today on our podcast, we have two amazing guests from Everybody's Best Friend podcast. It is Thomas and Kendall, everybody.
What a gorgeous introduction.
Oh
Welcome.
It's like I never did this before and failed. So
Oh my
try it
god.
again.
Yeah, that was the first time, first and only take. Hello.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we're really excited to have you on today. Do you even know what you're talking about today?
No.
Oh, that makes it so much better.
I'm like,
So,
the talent has not been briefed.
amazing. So we're talking to you guys today because you have this awesome podcast. I don't know if you know this, but you actually helped convince me to follow through with Alex's dream of creating a podcast because I saw you guys do this and I went, okay, if they can do this and they can do it well. Aleks had come to me like months before and been like, we need to make a podcast. You would absolutely love this. Like, this would make your life. And I was like, no, I refuse. And then I saw you guys and I was like, they're doing a really great job and I'm competitive. So I'll try.
So nice.
You're so sweet. I also love your guys' podcast. I listened
Thank
to
you.
it for the first time on the crosstown bus, and I almost missed my stop. I was having such a good time.
Oh my God, really? Oh, that's awesome. I actually listened to you guys on my ride back home from Serbia when I visited in August. So
Look at that. How many hours was that?
I will say I had to vomit because I had really bad motion sickness. And the
podcast was just bad.
No. The one episode that I listened to
Was bad.
was the one of you guys hung over
Oh.
and being like, I have to vomit. And like, I was like, man, we're in the same spot right now.
Well, and I hate to bring you the news that is how I am today. I have my Pedialyte right here. I am violently hungover on
my
the verge
God.
of vomiting. So
Oh, you poor
if you see
thing.
me scurry away, that's what's happening.
I'll know what's going on. Oh my God. Why don't you introduce yourselves to the group? Because I'm sure our listeners are wondering who you are. Or we're stealing your listeners because, you have such a great following.
Yours, mine, ours. We're all about community.
Yeah. We were a bunch of hippies here, so it's fine.
Yeah,
Amen.
exactly.
Amen. Sure. Well, I'm Thomas Doelger.
I'm Kendall Edwards.
And together we are the team behind
Everybody's Best Friend.
which is a cute little podcast playdate for 20-somethings. We talk about, all the fun things that go into being a young 20-something living in the big bad city.
Yes. Yeah, we talk about struggles of being in your 20s, dating.
Lots of pop culture takes.
Bachelor recaps. Hot Mess Express stories.
Yes.
We mention it all.
We mention it all. And we started this podcast in quarantine, not really thinking about continuing it throughout quarantine and through the pandemic. So it's been kind of funny because so much of our content has to do with like going out and like living and things being up and running. So it's been kind of fun to do it, with the world shut down.
I know, it's so crazy. Like when we started in May of 2020, and when we started, we were like, oh yeah, by July, like we'll be back at bars, and it's like, bitch, it's January 2021.
Yeah.
We're still in my basement.
Whose idea was the intro music?
The song was actually written by Tom McGovern, friend of the podcast, who's like just this genius jingle writer. He's one of my friends from college's boyfriend is how I found him. And he was writing all these very funny jingles kind of before he went viral. And I was like, oh, I would love him to write our theme song. And so he was like, what do you want it to sound like? And I was like, the theme song to The Nanny. And he was like,
Oh my
period.
God.
And then he sent it. He was like, tell me a little about yourself. And I just kind of told him what the podcast was about Kendall and I. our romantic history. My first and only girlfriend. And then he wrote us this amazing jingle that, I mean, we're still obsessed
Yeah,
with.
literally, like, he was like, let me know if you need any, like, rewrites, but, like, first take, like, it was perfect.
That's it, yeah.
Alex, do you know what the nanny is?
I assume.
I should have probably briefed you guys before we just started recording, but we actually have a really wide audience of Europeans. So I know
Well, I mean,
the nanny
as do we. I don't know if you've heard,
Of
but we
course.
are the 235th best comedy podcast in France as of last week.
Wait,
so.
really?
Yes.
Oh my god, congrats! That's
It's the
so
thank
funny.
you. I mean, I know it's
I know.
it's our only Apple
Excusez-moi.
Podcast rating. I know. Excusez-moi is right, Alex. Okay.
I'm like, well, bonjour, Europeans.
But so the nanny, just to fill you in, the nanny is this hilarious show from the 90s? 90s? 80s?
80s or 90s, yeah.
What was that?
Nice. And it's like about like this like nanny in the city in New York City, but it's like iconic. But so is the jingle is very iconic.
Okay, yeah. I think I know what it is.
I mean, it does sound like our theme song, which
Yeah.
is grand.
Oh,
Yeah.
was it the character? She's like, she has like
That
a
is
little bit.
absolutely
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Yeah, that I know it. Yeah. It was airing
Perfect-
here. I know
perfect
what it is. Yeah.
Yes.
So what did you guys do before the quarantine? Before this big fame in France?
Well, merci beaucoup for that. You want to start?
Sure. Before the shutdown, I was working as a Broadway press agent. So that's basically like in the way that talent hires a publicist, shows hire publicists. So I, instead of repping people, I repped shows, but then through that repped like every single person involved with the show. So I was working on a few different shows, and then the shutdown happened and whisked away our entire industry. So then I was unemployed for a bit, but I actually started a new job in October. Now I am doing talent PR at a company that's actually based in LA. So now I work remote on LA hours. But I miss Broadway so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's depressing.
Yeah, it's depressing.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
We were also living together pre-shutdown, which was the best.
I know.
But yeah, pre-shutdown, I was auditioning for a bunch of shows, and then I was just like working at a bar, living the dream. And then, of course, both the bars and Broadway said adios. So yeah, but then I've kind of pivoted. In the meantime, I just got a job actually at this really cool firm doing luxury real estate. If you've ever seen Selling Sunset, that's my life now. Just kidding. It's far less glamorous or rich in any way.
One day.
Yeah.
But hey, that's the building blocks. But I mean, from what I've seen of that firm, that's like it's a good firm that you're with.
It's amazing.
It's really good.
Everyone is at least 25 years older than me. They're like, who brought their kid to work? I'm like, this is my desk, Mary Ellen, get up. So, it's been a lot of fun.
They need some pep in their step, though. That's why.
That's why.
need
They
some-
do.
They need someone to infiltrate
Yeah.
TikTok on their behalf.
Yes.
So here I am.
Absolutely.
yeah.
From young.
Yeah.
So, did you guys have like this really intense like understanding of like audio design and making a podcast before you started this podcast?
Certainly not.
Yeah, so if you listen back to our earlier episodes, the audio genius is not in the building.
No, we recorded the first episode in a garage, like 10 feet apart from each other.
Yeah.
The sound is trash. I mean, we still sometimes, like, we recorded an episode a couple weeks ago, and half the time had the mic on the wrong setting. Like,
Oh my God.
We literally still are figuring it out, but, like, I will say Thomas definitely handles the engineering aspects of it. I just, like, give my approval, and I'm like, please take out the part where I talked about getting kicked out of a bar for this explicit reason. But he does, like, all of the editing.
Yeah.
I don't really deal with that.
Yeah, I just kind of, like, my little brother's a really, really good sound engineer. He does a lot of, like, music production, so he thankfully had all this equipment laying around when we were quarantined in Connecticut. So that was helpful. And then, I mean, I just kind of, like, learned as I went. I remember we usually have about, like an hour and a half to 2 hours worth of footage, and our episodes end up being around, like, 45 minutes to an hour. I remember when we first started, it would literally take me an entire day to edit an episode. I'd be like,
Yeah.
what
Oh, yeah.
the fuck am I doing here? And now I'm like, oh, that only took me 2.5 hours, gourmet. So it's good. I mean, GarageBand is now my best friend, and you know, it's been good. It's definitely been a learning experience that I have not completely figured out. Every week I'm like, now why is that sound in there?
Yeah, sometimes there's like a random like drumming noise that we have no idea where it comes from.
Or sometimes I'll be editing and like 2 seconds of audio will just like go so haywire. It'll just be like, "Ah!" And I'll be like, did I need that? Was that important? Okay, good. I'm just gonna cut it.
So how have you found like your podcast has kind of morphed from the beginning? Obviously the sound changed.
Yeah,
but...
thank God.
I know, we sort of like, when we started, we knew we would do this Hot Mess Express idea, which if you don't listen to our podcast, we end each episode with a Hot Mess Express story. So anything from like a story from a drunk night out to like lies we told as children that we find funny. So we knew we would do that, and we knew we would, every week we die for someone, which is just like who we're
Your
obsessed.
weekly obsession, yeah.
But then we as it's evolved, we've added in the like TV recaps, and now we have a section called Have You Seen, Have You Heard, Have You Watched, which is like, again, just like talking about all the like pop culture stuff that we've consumed. So there's definitely it used to just be us sort of like shooting the shit like next to a mic, and sometimes it still is. Yeah. But it's become like more structured, I would say. And
I feel like we, in terms of like our recording sessions and then our timelines each week, we have it like very down to a system, like or down to a science. I can't speak either. We have it down to a system. So I feel like, yeah, like Kendall said, like it went from us just kind of like winging it to like we have kind of like plans every week, and like, not to put Kendall on blast, but like we will debate topics for like an hour, because she'll be like, convince me that is funny. You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Thomas does all of the like physical editing work. I'm the brains of the operation. No, I'm always just like, I am just very picky about like what we talk about, because our podcast is a comedy podcast. So like I think in terms of like, is that going to be funny to people other than us? Because we've been best friends forever. So like we can go on and on and on. Yeah. And to some people, they're just like, this literally isn't funny. So like I really shut it down all the time. I'm like, no, that's a bad idea. We're not doing that.
Which, you know, is very necessary kind of always, especially, you know, with me. I'm like, I have a brilliant idea. Kendall's like, that's trash. And I'm like, bringing me back to earth.
Well, that's a good dynamic, especially if like the joke is like inside joke and you really just among you like know the joke, and maybe for anybody else listening who's like, what was that?
Exactly.
So,
yeah. That's funny. We were just talking about this recently, Aleks and I, because we've just re-upped starting interviews again and like recording like so often. Yeah. That at the beginning, I, as a control freak, over structured. Like I had like full on notes of like what we're going to talk about. And if you listen to our first episode, which you will never hear, but the first episode we ever recorded, it is now deleted. It is the worst shit ever. It's just us literally.
Wait, which one was it?
You'll never hear it. We deleted it. It's on we actually
doesn't exist.
You will hear a new version of it because we re-recorded the episode for this season, but last season I cut it because it was literally us interviewing each other in like the most uncomfortable way about sports.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like,
okay.
So
what's
my question
your
is,
favorite sport? Now your turn. It was horrible.
Yeah.
And now we're really bad because we really do shoot the shit. But that's kind of
that's what people like to listen to.
Yeah.
But that's really funny that you guys are like kind of have like turned your system around.
Yeah, we needed to be reined in for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you have like originally like idea how many episodes you have for a season? Any kind of idea in that way, or?
No. I mean, the only reason like the concept of seasons ever crossed my mind is because I'd have to enter our season into our like we use like Buzzsprout, which is this like listing service that puts it on all the streaming services. And they'd be like, and what season is this? I'd be like, I don't know. So we realistically like wouldn't have taken a season break, I don't think, unless like, we went away for the holidays, and I was like, this seems like a good place to end the season after 27 episodes, a nice prime number. So we really had no, like, we've never really drafted or thought about the podcast in terms of, like, seasons.
Yeah.
Especially because, like, our episode structure is so down to a science that, like, there's no real, like, arc from, like, beginning of or end to season. They're all just kind of the same structured, so kind of gave us the freedom to decide when we wanted to end season 1, which was just before the end of the new year.
Okay, so it was not, like, really planned, so you just
No, we're pretty much winging it.
So some of that still stayed.
Yes, yeah. A little bit of winging it, but
So, you guys may or may not know this, but Aleks and I actually use this really great service called Anchor to make our podcasts. Number one, it's free. But there's also some great creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcasts right from your phone or computer. Which, again, Aleks and I live literally oceans apart, so all we have is our phone or our computer to use to connect with each other to make these podcasts. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And you can actually make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, which is really great. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. So I also have a question for you guys about your content. So what have you found, now that you have a relatively large amount of content that you've put out, what have you found has really worked for you guys? And what have you found has been like, you thought it was going to work and then it really crashed?
Ooh. You want to take this one?
Why? Because you don't have an answer?
No, I have an answer, but I feel like I've just been talking a lot. Another thing we struggle with on the pod.
I'm trying to think.
I think we've gotten the most success because we have a few episodes where we like we just take kind of like a broad topic and just like chat about it, and then we have other episodes where we stick to like we did like a ranking of our top 25 like Disney Channel original movies, or we did this like online quiz that people could follow, and we found that when there was more of a structure or more like interaction with the listener in terms of how the episode was going or what the main chunk of the episode looked like, I feel like we got more success from that. We also have found like the more, and we never plan it, but the more we accidentally go off the rails, especially maybe this is just specific to us and our listeners, but like the more our listeners like adore it. Like there's this one episode from season 1 where we were really unhinged and started doing ASMR with our Trader Joe's snacks into the mic, and people still to this day will
and they ask for, they're like,
please do more ASMR, and they'll like message us and be like, crunchy, 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 and I'm like, oh Christ. So I think we get more response the more interactive our topics and our content
and it comes down to like when we were talking about when I'm like shutting down things that I don't want to talk about, like if it's never successful if the topic is broad, you know, like we can't just talk about like dating. Like we talked about like dating apps and then like broke down like the apps and like what kind of people are on which app. And like so when we do cover a topic, like just having and then thinking about the personal stories that we will share within that topic, like that are funny, not just like sharing our opinions, just like making it all like very personal, because that's the whole point of our podcast is like sharing our personal experiences that like are usually disasters and like hot messes, and like hoping that people can relate to that and like be like, oh, okay, I'm also 24 and flailing, you know, like so I feel like people connect to that. And then something that I feel like has not crashed and burned, but something I think the biggest challenge for us right now is, like we said, we do this Hot Mess Express thing every episode and we're not going out. Like we thought, like, you know, I used to be a disaster every single weekend, so like we're not getting like new material, like we're having to like pull from past experience, which has been fun because like it also like brings back memories and stories that like
Yeah.
we've forgotten about.
Yeah.
And like we'll reach out to friends and be like, can you think of anything like funny, for me to tell? And because your friends always remember your stories differently. But that's definitely been the biggest challenge for me, I think, is not having the ability to go out and like create new content for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I also think just with us and our fan base, so to speak, there's a really fine line where we hit like real listener success between like too general and like too niche to like us and our like close group of 6 friends, because that's where we obviously are the most comfortable and like where we're most ourselves. But there's like a happy medium that I feel like we found, but it took us a while. We're like, okay, this is it's like not too general, not too niche, like it's this like perfect marriage of the two.
Yeah, but it's like I would guess that then it's like pretty successful, considering that like you started like when we say May, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's then I guess it's like pretty successful. Like we also like it's only been like 3 months or something, and people are like
I know,
listening.
and your podcast is lit, you guys. I remember listening to yours for the first time and immediately texting Kendall and being like, oh my god, we are doing this all wrong. I was like, they got the gorgeous music. They have the gorgeous mic quality. I was like, wait, some revisions must be made.
It's so funny that you say that.
Yeah.
Considering, as I said at the beginning, you're kind of who we've been like chasing. Like, this is kind of like a like.
Oh my god, Rob.
Battle of the podcast.
Are we gonna kiss?
I'm like asking you out over this like Skype interview. Like,
I
oh my god, you guys are
We'll
so.
all meet in France.
In France.
They'll be rolling out the red carpet for us.
I want a baguette in each hand.
I guess I should specify that we actually have a really huge German base because we actually met working in Germany. Our organization for our content really is around traveling and different
sick.
perspectives, which is why it's also really cool to talk to you guys, because I feel like you are the iconic version of what a American podcast aims to be, which is like really fun.
Yeah, yes.
Oh my
God. No, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like something that I'm hearing you guys saying is like making sure that your listeners are in the inside joke, is like a really big thing that I find in American podcasts, and something that's so different from what our podcast is. I always thought it was like, it has like charm and funny, but like, I would say like we're kind of more on like the serious side.
Yeah, and you told that story about how Aleks almost drowned. That was tough for me on the boat.
I mean, dude, it was like terrifying.
They did like a near-death experiences episode, and I was like, is
my
Rob
God.
gonna tell the story of the car accident we got into when we worked at Hershey Park together? But she did not.
I didn't? I thought I did.
I don't think you did, or maybe you did, and I don't remember. But
I think I mentioned it really quick.
Could
But
be.
Aleks knows the story.
Yeah. It was loose. It's actually,
Good
I think it's gonna be
times.
my Hot Mess Express story for our episode we record later, because I forgot about it.
I think you've told that.
I did. Shit. Like going back to like making sure everyone's in on the inside joke. Like our whole kind of like thesis for starting this is just like a podcast that makes you feel like you're just like hanging out with your best friend, because obviously with quarantine, a lot of people aren't like attached to their best friend like Kendall and I are. So, to hear you guys and to hear people reach out just to be like, oh my god, like I don't even know you guys, but I feel like we are like BFFs. Like Nicole Zelka yesterday, Rob, like put up this like gorgeous Instagram story, who's never met Kendall, just being like, I feel like these two are literally my best friends. You guys have to listen to this podcast. I love them so much. Like, it's just so nice that's like what people like get why we like started it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have also we had like shout outs from people. I didn't like expect it at all. Like DMs and like
crazy.
people, and then we realized like when you look at like a list of people like listening, like you don't know people like living in those countries or in those places in the certain country, like who's listening to this. So somebody's listening. That's
France,
great.
baby.
Yeah.
Well, and like we have a lot of friends in Germany, but I mean, there was one day I remember really early on where I was just like, oh, look, we can see who's listening. When we were still in that place of like, I don't even know what a podcast is.
Yeah.
And we're like, did you know you can see who listens to these? And we were looking at it and we were like, oh, Hamburg, because that's where our company's based out of. We're like, cool. Berlin, okay, capital, cool. All right, here's a town I can't even pronounce, and that's a region that people are listening.
Yeah.
And there's like 4% of the entire listenership is from this area.
Cool.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
Kendall and I have both been so drunk in so many unpronounceable provinces in Germany, so we get it. We get the
We're
vibe.
familiar.
Oh my god.
Yes.
What's that story?
Oh, you want to take this one?
Well, I mean, just so in high school, we did this show that then we got to do in Europe, and we stayed with host families in Schorndorf and in Kaiserslautern. And
Sounds like a cookie.
we one night found ourselves like at an abandoned barn party with like people. Everyone didn't speak English, but we were just like happy to be drinking legally, and like we just like the first night, like the trip was like if we find out that you're drinking, like you get sent home on the next flight. And like at the first meal of the first trip, like we were very lucky, our host families were all friends, and they were like, oh, you guys aren't gonna order drinks with dinner? And we were like, we all like looked at each other and we're like, we will. Like from then we just like literally blacked out every night. We were like, what bar can we go to tonight? Because like, we were like 17 and like had never been to bars before, so like we were just traipsing through the streets of Germany, Kaiserslautern, just like wasted for like a week and a half.
I remember at that like barn party, so many iconic stories from that night. But we were drinking like, I think they like only had beer there, but it was like good like German beer. And I remember I like blacked out temporarily and came to, and I was in like the field like behind the like barn house, and apparently I had been throwing up unbeknownst to me. But I just came to, and I had like one German stranger holding each of my limbs, the other like force feeding me bubbly water, and I was like, oh my god, I have been taken. Call Liam Neeson. I am in grave danger. This is where it ends.
Oh my god.
So anyway, we love Germany.
Yes, we need to boost our listenership.
Yes, if you are listening in Germany, guten Tag, okay?
Oh my god.
Liebe Gäste.
You guys are too funny.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Liebe Gäste. We have a great story of our. It needs to be explained.
Okay.
So a really good friend of ours. There was a bar on the ship, right? Obviously, there was a crew bar, and everyone meets there because that's the only place where you can actually like have any sort of social life. And one of our friends, so something that they always used to say, because it's a German cruise line, they speak only German, and they used to always introduce everyone as Liebe Gäste, which is like lovely guests. And so our friend,
I remember him one night, like somebody was sitting like on this side, the side that was sitting, and he would like come here, like grab them and like very like dramatic. I'm going to sleep.
Liebe Gäste, like as like a good night. It's like
inside joke. Yeah, they didn't need an explanation if you work there. So.
Liebe Gäste.
So I'm doing this on the fly. You guys haven't really gotten to prepare for this, but I'm putting you on the spot, and I would love to close our interview with you guys today by taking one of your segments. Who are you dying for? And I would love to hear at this moment.
Who are you dying for?
I mean, you guys do a lot with The Bachelor.
Ooh. Yes, I was actually going to say, because I'm not going to die for him on our episode, but I am going to talk about it. I am dying for Matt James. I just have to. I have to die for him. If you don't, listeners, Germans, this is the American Bachelor. And oh my god, he's just like, he's 6'7" and like the hottest man I've ever seen in my life.
And on the first, I love that he's never been through the Bachelor experience. So he was like, Chris Harrison, can we actually take a seat and chat? How does this shit work?
Yeah, he's just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. He's like, this is fun. And also, I mean, we'll get into it on our episode, but like for all of you watching, the upgrade, the hotel they're staying at versus the La Quinta that last season was filmed at, it's disgraceful. But I'm dying for Matt James.
This is weird, but I think I'm dying for Elle Fanning this week because I just started watching The Great on Hulu.
It's so good.
It is so good, and I don't know why I slept on it for so long, because people told me when it came out, like last summer, I feel like. Everyone was like, The Great, you have to watch it. And I was like, I have other things to watch. I'm watching Ozark. Leave me alone. I know. But I'm finally watching it now. Oh my god, it is so good, bitch. Elle Fanning, who I've always found a little annoying because I have a weird obsession with Dakota Fanning. There were just 2 years in our childhood where she was in every movie ever, and I was like, you are an icon. And then she just like cashed out and was like, Elle, the floor is yours. So this is the first thing I've seen Elle Fanning in where I've been like, oh, you're kind of lit, actually. And it's like a period piece. Who doesn't love that? Hello.
Hello,
so good.
Anita.
Alex doesn't really know much about The Bachelor, except the only thing he has ever seen is Claire freaking out at Yosef over...
Sick.
That's all you need to see, Alex. That's
He's
all
like,
you
this
need
girl's
to
too
see.
much. I can't do this.
It never.
I mean,
would've
it was the most
happened.
boring season of The Bachelorette ever. But, like, thank God we had the Tasha upgrade. If I was stuck with spooky
my
Claire...
God.
She was great.
Yeah.
I love Tasha.
I'm
Tasha.
hunting her down. Her and Zach live on
I
the
know,
Upper
on the
West,
Upper
and I
West
can't.
Side.
I'm just like, I have on like my Carmen Sandiego outfit every day, like just like looking for them.
Oh my god. Meanwhile, Alex is just staring at us all, just with a smile on his face.
He's like,
He's
Liebe,
like, who are you-
Gäste.
Utterly, yes.
Who are you dying for, Rob?
Oh, turning the tables.
Alex, start
on me.
thinking.
Yeah, I already did.
The Real Housewives. Do you watch?
Yes,
Real
of
Housewives?
where?
Of Salt Lake.
Salt Lake.
Yes!
Thank you. Good answer.
Heather.
Heather is my fave, hands down.
Which one was she?
Or, oh God, I get them all
I'm like,
confused.
can we get into the woman married to her grandpa?
Mary?
I literally can't.
So funny. All right, Alex. Your turn.
Alex.
My turn. I'm not like crazy for TV series, especially.
It could be like a book or a singer. It doesn't have to
Or
be
like an
TV.
event, yeah. I died for Nicole Kidman's coats on The Undoing one week.
Yeah.
He also died for lobster.
Yeah, I also died for lobster one week.
Really? That's
Yeah, I
funny.
was just really craving that good.
So I mean, movies are. I mean,
How about SEO? He's learning a lot about SEO. No.
yeah, I'm dying for SEO. Yeah, let's go with that.
Perfect.
And what is that?
It's a search engine optimization. So basically,
Uh-huh.
He's doing marketing right now.
yeah, how to make your website or your content
my God.
appear on.
Kendall, and what is that?
And what is that?
Yes, clearly. I mean, here's the thing. This is what I love about this conversation. Clearly, one of us is like the very serious podcast,
You're like,
and the
let me
other's
think.
like the like hilarious comedy. Oh
Yeah.
my god, so funny. Oh my god. Well, with that, Alex and I would both like to thank you for coming on our podcast.
Oh my God, thank
Thank
you.
you so much for having us. This was so fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for agreeing to be on this serious podcast.
I know. Well, listen, we have a lot to talk about. Okay?
Oh, you do.
Like, I hope we were serious enough.
Yeah. One of us can start crying if you need to. Just give me like a second.
All right, we can pause the recording here. Let's.
Do we have to clap again?
No, we don't
Nope.
need to clap.
No. Thanks for listening. As a reminder, we have new episode coming out every Monday. If you like what we have to talk about, make sure you subscribe, like, rate, and review us, as well as give us a follow on Instagram @ We Have a Lot to Talk About podcast. We really appreciate it. Until next time, ta-da!